Hello everyone. So today we have another art journal tutorial for you all, and today's tutorial is all about how you can make your own tinted gesso. Now before I get into it, here I'm sharing some of the pages that we have done earlier. All these pages tutorial will be linked below in my description of the YouTube video in case you are interested. So this is the page that we'll be tackling today. As you can see, it initially has some background already from our previous projects, and we will do some gessoing etc on top of it. So for doing making my own tinted gesso, right? So normally for mixed media and art journal project, I am always in a lookout of new ways in which you can add browns in your project. And creating a brown gesso is one of the most easiest way to add vintage look to your project. Personally, that's what I feel, and that is what I'm doing over here. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing some white craft angles gesso with some clear gesso, again by craft angles. So the ratio is approximately 1 part white and 2 part clear. Again, this is something that I'm eyeballing. It's not like, there's no recipe for it. You can add white or based on how much opaque you want your gesso to be. Now I wanted more of a translucent gesso, and that is why I've added more clear and less white. And then I'm adding liquid acrylics in brown color. Again, you have seen that I'm just adding one tiny drop. Now since I'm adding clear gesso over here, even though it looks light brown, here you can see once it's dried, it's comparatively darker. That will always happen when you are dealing with clear acrylic gel mediums. It since the base looks white but dries clear, it will look lighter, however it will dry darker. So just remember that whenever you're making your own tinted gesso. Now that my background is ready, okay, what I want to do next is just for some interest and some kind of differentiation and some texture on top of my art journal. What I'm doing is I'm taking some white gesso again, and I'm applying it through a brayer. So what this does is it gives me kind of an organic texture and background for my page. And here you can see how it has dried. It has dried comparatively lighter because I have applied very thin layer of gesso through the brayer. Now for my layout, I have decided to use these oval die cuts. So these are die cut already from my old projects, and I'm kind of using them here. So the die stitched ovals by Craft Angles. Again, whatever products I talk about, the link will be there in the description below, so you guys can check the same. So I'm coloring these die cuts using some vintage photo distress ink. You could use honestly any brown color of your choice. Distress ink is fairly easy to use using these kind of ink blending brushes. And they are fairly easy to apply on die cuts. And once they are dry, I'll be using them for the focal point of my art journal page. Now here I'll play around with the placements, and you'll see that till the end, by the end when I start sticking characters, till then I was still playing around with the characters and the placements. So here I'm using some of the Tim Holtz Ideology dolls for my art journal page, and here I have selected the boy and the dog for my art journal page. And this is the layout that I had in mind, and again you'll see probably I'll change my mind. Sorry, no, I think this is the final layout that I did after changing my die cut so many times. But that is the beauty, right? You can play around till the time you stick your elements on top of the art journal. So here I felt that the oval part, the things behind the oval, it was quite simple. There was no differentiation, and it felt fairly flat as an art journal. So what I decided was I kind of decided to make these ovals like a window, and in the background of those oval shapes I have decided to do some stenciling. So for that, this is one of the mixed media stencil newly launched by Craft Angles. I'm using that to add that circuit kind of a pattern in the background, and then I'll stick the ovals on top of it. And here I am using the newly launched unicorn paste in golden dragon color. So even though here is the classic example, right, again of the white acrylic gel that I was talking about. So here while applying it looks blackish brown, but by the time it dries it looks like very much brown. So that is the difference that you see, especially with acrylic gel as a base. So here is what I plan to do, and here you can see how beautiful that the pattern looks in the behind. It kinds of adds in and it brings more of your focus on to all those three things on your art journal page, right? So adding using stencils with texture paste, doing some stamping is the easiest way in which you can add some texture and some interest on your art journal page. You always don't need to use bulky items like metal embellishments or molds. And that is the whole idea personally for me for this particular art journal, is that I don't want to add bulk. Now normally, ideally, whenever I do an altered project like an altered tissue box or altered shadow box or things like that, I tend to add lot of 3D embellishments, which kind of adds a lot of bulk and height to my project. And I always miss out on the flat ways in which you can add textures and interest to your art journal, and this particular art journal is all about that. So once I'm happy with all the stenciling that I have done, now what I'm doing is I'm doing some stamping. Again, you can see I'm not being super precise about it. I am just adding some pattern here and there, around the ovals, wherever I think the page will look empty. So for that, I am using this alphabet stamp, again a very old one. I don't remember which brand, etc. It's a very old stamp. And apart from that, I am adding this script pattern onto the areas which I think where I just want to add some interest and some pattern. Again, I'm concentrating around the ovals itself. I'm not doing it in the entire page. So that is what you have to be careful. Like, there needs to be some contrast. So there needs to be some blank space and some pattern space to give the contrast between the two. It should not be completely covered with pattern, or it should not completely be blank. That is the idea. So here I have stamped using Distress ink in the same vintage photo color. And honestly, for art journaling, Distress ink has no issues. So what I mean is you can easily use Distress ink for stamping. It may not give you perfect stamping, but that's completely okay, because it's art journal mixed media and there is no need for it to be perfection. At the end, it just adds to the texture and interest to your page. So that is what I'm using over here. However, if you have any other particular ink like oxides or any other brands, you can definitely use. There is no restrictions in the type of inks, etc. You can use honestly whatever you have. This art journal particular page was how you can make your own gesso. Apart from that, you can vary the focal point depending on your interest. This is something that I made because honestly, I found this particular layout very interesting, because normally whenever you are doing two pages, it kind of becomes difficult on how to create focal point in such a way that both of your two pages look different yet cohesive. And personally, this is one of my favorite page in the art journal till date that I have created. And of course, I'm a lover of brown, so definitely all the brownie points to the brown vintage gesso that we made. So here I'm just sticking down all those layers that we decided, which was those stitched oval dies and the characters and everything. So normally with Tim Holtz Ideology sticker, which I have used at the top of the journal page, I also use Fevicol for that, because somehow I find that without that they are less sticky. So I don't want them to be removed from my art journal later on whenever I'm opening and using it. So that is why I'm just adding some Fevicol just to make sure everything sticks properly. And then now my art journal page can never be complete without any splatters. So that is what I'm doing. And then this is an interesting way to add texture, which I did right now, was that whatever color that I had on the top of my lid, I simply smooshed it on the page and it gave me pretty smooshed kind of an effect. And also I did some stamping with bundled sage color just for some contrast, and that is the same color that I am using over here to add that smooshing effect as well. So it is kind of a mossy green color and it is like very light. So I really like how that gave just a little bit of pop of color in between brown, and still at the same time the page remains quite neutral. So that was the art journal for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. personally one of my favorite art journal page. I really like how everything, kind of came together and made one cohesive project. I'll leave you with close ups of all these beautiful textures and layers that we added. And I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, don't forget to like and comment, and do consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, if you have any queries, please feel free down to comment below and I'll be happy to reply to them. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Till then, guys, take care. Bye bye.